You want to start, Flip?
Talk about market size and how you think about that.
Okay, so that's a good question. The current market size of simulators for chip verification is $500 million a year. And it's divided third by cadence, synopsis, and mental graphics. An interesting fact, but in addition to that, they spend $1 billion more on servers running these simulators. So that's another thing that's part of the ROI of what they can get from our solution.
What about beyond verification? Are there?
I can't hear
What
you.
about beyond verification? Are there
Right,
applications for the technology in
so
other EDA areas?
That's a great question. Thank you. As you saw, core technology is not only relevant for chip simulation and logic simulation. It is essentially algorithms that can take a very complex problem, very complex dependency flow, and partition it optimally into many sequences that are almost independent. Now, if you can take your algorithm or problem actually and map it into such complex graphs, and it can be from any field, it could be in neural networks or signal processing, or many fields have such problems, then you realize that Rocketick is not only pioneering acceleration of logic simulation, it's also a pioneer of taking complex problems and running it on GPU and GPU-like architectures.
So can I just jump back to the first question, the market size? You kind of talked about the current market size. If you accelerate, I guess the question is about price elasticity. If you accelerate 10x, does that mean the market size stays the same or divides by 10 or gets bigger?
Okay, so historically, if you look at things, the market will not shrink because we accelerate simulations. What will happen is that people who run more simulations get more confident in their design, shorten the time to market, design more complex chips. Actually, the problem is that today it is becoming almost impossible to design so complex chips. So that was what will happen. They will not buy less simulators. A good analogy for that is what happened in compilers for programmers. Like 30 years ago, people were investing time in checking the syntax because the compilation took hours. And now what they're doing is that they're putting the effort on the machine instead of on themselves. It's not like they're doing less compilations. They're doing even more compilations, but they're putting more of the effort in the machine. When I worked in Broadcom, for example, before the weekend, we had discussions what simulations to run during the weekend because they took hours or days. So we're trying to put more of the effort on the machine than on the human being.
That's actually a great question because, as you said, we're evaluating the software internally, and I think there is no discussion internally that if we use this that we would buy less hardware or less software. And I think you can imagine people like Cadence and Synopsys being very concerned that GPUs could shrink their industry. I think it's actually going to be the opposite because there are many, many tests that we want to run on our chips before we tape them out that we just don't have time to run. So you have to pick and choose because they take so damn long.
So do you present yourself as an alternative to the existing validation, verification alternatives, or do you accelerate the ones that are in place?
That's a great question, actually. I'm sorry that I didn't clarify before. No, we're an add-on. We're a plug-in to the existing simulators. And that's an advantage because the user keeps working on his existing environment. It's a seamless solution. Doesn't have to change his code or anything.
So the flow is the same. It just happens much faster. That's really cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So that goes a little bit to my question, which is around your go-to-market. So if you are an add-on to some of the existing larger simulator programs and vendors, do you have to go to market alongside them, or do you sell around them, or do you sell, how does that work?
Currently, we have some talks with them, but we currently sell it as a plug-in separate from their product, because the API is very standard. You don't need to cooperate with them to be able to attach to the simulators. There are plenty of other similar products that attach to the simulators for debug, for other purposes. So we are just like another one of these plugins. But by the way, customers write code in C and attach it to the simulators. It's something that is very standard.
So Uri, the EDA market is, I'm sure you know this, is brutal for startups, right? and it's really hard. I know, and by the way, I know you're well-funded, so congratulations for that. So it's
Thanks.
not, this is not about your funding, but how do you scale a business when there's really three or maybe four, 3/4 companies who could potentially acquire you? If you look at the history of EDA, you know, a good exit is, you know, 25 to 50 million nowadays. What's your plan of attack for scaling this into a large business, or not? Or do you think this can be a nice, smaller business that creates a lot of cash flow for you and your investors, which is fun as well?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last
I said,
sentence.
or is that not your intention to scale it to be very large? Because there are many small businesses that are quite profitable that do well. Not everything has to be a billion-dollar company.
Yeah, the only way to become a billion-dollar company in what we do is to move to other areas too, because in EDA and in logic simulation, it will be hard to become a really large company. What will happen is that at one stage or another, one of the big players will buy us if we were successful, and then we will try to take our technology to other areas and expand from there.
How do you price your product? I mean, I could see where there would be huge value if you can shave a couple of months off of a time to market strategy. Do you price to value, or are you pricing based on other considerations?
Currently, we price it quite simply like how simulators are, not the same price, but it's a time-based license per seat that we sell. And customers buy more simulators, it give them more ROI, but the current model is simple. We don't measure the ROI. Sometimes it's not measurable because customers don't know in advance what it will save them, how they are not sure even what they will do with it. So
And are you shipping this product now?
we're actually with several customers in stages of evaluations, different stages of evaluation.
When do you anticipate you will be shipping or have a real
this
customer?
year in 2011. Yeah,
Next, 2011, okay.
right. 2011.
Any other questions? No. Great, thanks a lot.
Very
Great
cool.
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.